and begin recording. We're gonna do the presentation thing.
What's that?
All right.
Sounds like Block 37.
All right. All right. So just as an FYI, as I go through this, especially because we're recording, if folks can mute themselves, yeah, mute yourselves for the presentation. And once I'm done with the little presentation slides, we'll take off the presentation mode and do some Q&A. So thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for signing up to be a part of the Block Club. So some of you saw flyers, some of you saw social posts, some people, maybe signed up through the newsletter, but all of you are here because you're either involved in our neighborhood, you want to be more involved in our neighborhood, or you're kind of curious, right? I heard in our group some people who are pretty connected to people on their block, and also some folks that are interested in seeing what more they could be doing in our neighborhood. So we already did our welcome and our intros. We're in our presentation as far as our agenda goes. After we go through these slides and have a little bit of discussion, we are going to do breakout groups again to actually work with folks in your area to kind of talk about some of the activities that you might be interested in doing. And then we'll come back together and talk about next steps. Goals for today is really to help and make sure that folks understand block by block what this program is about. We're looking to recruit people who might want to be block club facilitators, right? Folks who take a little bit more of a leadership role and help us like in communicating with the ward office and with neighbors in your area. We want to just simply connect you to other people in your geographic area. And we are going to work on planning our first event this evening. And we're going to fit that all in by 8 o'clock. It's going to happen. So a bit about the program again. So this is a community building initiative, right, from my office. It's designed just to connect people to one another, to connect you guys to local resources, and to really look at how we can reimagine a Chicago Block Club for our generation in this time. So, overall goals is just connecting. We need people to know each other on our blocks. If we know each other on our blocks, we can better identify maybe like local issues and possible solutions. We can work together, plan activities and events that help us to build a more connected community. And once we kind of get that together in our area, we can even connect to folks in other parts of the ward. So this is really in response to even pre-pandemic, questions and ideas and thoughts that neighbors brought to our office, but especially over this last year and through this pandemic, really trying to address some of the biggest challenges that some of them are new. Some of these challenges were pre-existing the pandemic, but they've become greater or more exposed on like how we don't know each other, the things that government can't do, the things that nonprofit can't feel. And we've seen, a lot of mutual aid groups and organizations come up. And I've heard a lot of people who just want to get more involved at their local level. And we want to make sure that you've got tools, materials, and support to make that happen. So some of the guiding principles and how we want to make sure we're different than sometimes maybe a traditional block club. So I know we've got some great, a handful of great block clubs in the 49th Ward, but not a lot. In other parts of the city, block clubs are a little bit more prominent. There are places where there are a lot more residential single family home blocks on the west side, the south side, the northwest side even. And those block clubs some of them have really long histories, and I've attended some really cool meetings in other parts of the city. But here we don't have a lot of them. And so we're taking this opportunity to think about what we want our block clubs to be like. So some of our guiding principles are really going to be around inclusion, respect, and also action. So inclusion, knowing that we've got a super diverse community. We have a lot of different backgrounds, and I don't just mean ethnic or racial or economic, but we come from different places. We have different experiences. And a lot of times block clubs can feel like they're exclusionary, right? We have a neighborhood where sometimes people don't feel like they're included or things are meant for them. And that's just how the city is built. So we want to make sure our block clubs are intentional about including people who are often ignored and make sure that we're kind of working to challenge some of our biases and prejudices. We want to build around respect, right? We're going to treat each other with decency. We're going to come to this with some humility and establish a culture of respect that I think is going to strengthen our community. And so far, this being our kind of second meeting together, folks have really shown up in this way, and I appreciate you all for that. And then action. So I have to go to a lot of meetings all the time. My work before being an alderperson was in community engagement and doing a lot of meetings. And I can tell you that I promise I'm not asking you to join something where you're just doing a bunch of meetings to talk about things, but not doing things. So we got to take action to make positive changes that we want to see. So with this structure, we're not meeting just to meet and talk and know people. We're doing it because we want to identify and realize actual things that we want for our areas, right? For your block, for your precinct, for our ward. And we're not just going to talk about what we don't want. We're building this structure and inviting you guys into this space because so many of you have so many great ideas. I can't do all the things, but I can support people in our neighborhoods and on our blocks doing some of the things that you want to do. Some of the support coming from my office, we'll do quarterly skill building workshops for people in their block clubs, right? Like, how do you communicate with folks? How do you plan events? Maybe there's problem solving or crisis intervention or different trainings people want to see. We'll coordinate those. We'll bring people to our area to help make sure that we've got more skills and more tools in our tool belt. We'll help with virtual meeting and planning materials. We'll help you coordinate activities and events, assistance with identifying and implementing solutions to challenges that you guys identify, supporting your block club management, right? Helping you figure out digital tools or maybe contact management, and supporting with some financial support for activities, right? I don't have a bottomless war chest. I'm not Mayor Lightfoot with a ton of money, but we do have some funds, and a lot of the community funds that we're raising, I want to make sure we're putting back into our neighborhood activities. So we're here for that as well. So how are we going to do it? Couple basic things, and we're going to keep this simple. In my experience, meeting people, establishing ways that we can communicate to one another, figuring out what kind of shared goals we have, and then planning activities around those goals are kind of the core foundation pieces for community building. So I'm going to dive a little bit more into each of these. So recruiting neighbors. So the first rule of Block Club is that you need to tell everybody about Block Club. You need to know that it exists, right? This isn't an exclusive club. There aren't membership requirements. The idea is that within your areas, we want people to know what you're doing. So some of these activities are going to look like flyering. Some of you learned about this because you saw a flyer. We might do phone banking, calling people, right? Some of our folks, especially during the pandemic, some folks are more homebound than others, right? Not everybody's checking emails. Not everybody's on the alderwoman's email list. And so flyering, phone banking, and canvassing. But for non-political things, a lot of you volunteer politically and do this. We can do this for non-political things too, right? To talk to our neighbors, to let them know what's going on, and to get to know people. Making sure that we can communicate easily with one another is also super important. Again, none of this is rocket science, right? Maybe you want to set up a Facebook group. We're going to start you off. One of our next steps after this meeting is kind of getting folks connected by area with a little email list. Maybe you want to make a phone list. Maybe you end up making a message group. And then we're also here to try and help you find solutions for multilingual support, because we know we have a ton of languages spoken. And on your block, you might need a couple languages. You might need some translation. You might need help finding an interpreter. And those are some of the things we want to make sure you can do so that folks are able to participate fully. And then the third piece, again, is just events and activities. So we're going to talk about doing our annual ward cleanup event today. You could do meet and greets with electeds. Like, I'm here, I'm easy to see. Maybe folks on your block want to talk to Congresswoman Schwakowski. Maybe you want to talk to State Rep Kelly Cassidy or Mike Simmons, maybe Commissioner Suffredin. You could do events with local businesses and our schools, right? What you can do partner on. I've heard folks, and a lot of these came from the conversations that people had, I'll say, in our kind of first meeting that we did last month on some of the ideas that they'd like to see. Maybe you want a walking group. Maybe you want to plan block parties, do outdoor games, you know. Some folks indicated they really want to get together in their area to do community outreach, working on anti-violence and safety issues, maybe do an employment assistant, youth engagement, or senior wellness calls. So there's no real limit or restriction here, right? If it's something in your area that you and other neighbors want to work on, you can do it, and we're going to help you to support to make sure it happens. And with that, talking a little about that first event. So Saturday, April 17th is the date that the city has set for like the annual citywide spring cleanup. So for folks who haven't participated this in the past, it's fun. It doesn't sound like fun to take a rake and a shovel and gloves and a bag and go pick up trash in the street, but it is, I promise. So the city provides materials that we need, you know, we'll provide masks, and you know what, we gather, we get a bunch of things, and we break out into different parts of the ward, and we spend a couple hours just picking it up, cleaning it up, and then we make sure and coordinate with our ward superintendent, and he gets, you know, those bags of trash and things like that. So this is the first event we want to talk about tonight. And, you know, we did this before I actually got sworn in 2019. And then we weren't able to do it last year because of the pandemic. But I'll say that, you know, this is an annual event. It's not the only cleanup event that we have to do, but this is the one where we really want to see how we can kick off, letting people know about the block clubs and see how many different parts of the ward we can get cleaning crews in. So we're going to do some outreach and recruiting for it after this meeting, before the event. So we're going to ask for your help and maybe making some phone calls to your neighbors to do some flyering. And then, you know, at the actual Clean and Green, it'll be a good opportunity to do signups and meet new people in your area to recruit more folks for your block club. And then some of the planning that we anticipate before this is asking you guys, and we'll work on this in our small groups, to think about whether maybe you can actually hold your first block club meeting virtually in advance of this event, to talk with some of your neighbors and do things like select the areas for cleaning in your precinct or in your area that you want to provide back to us in the ward office. So I'm going to close the presentation piece at this point. And we can always, the slides will be available on the website and the recording as well. Still recording, and we'll do that through the Q&A portion, and then I'll end recording after that. So just wondering if folks have questions or comments.
I guess my question is, it doesn't seem like a very long time between April 1st, you know, Thursday, and April 17th to kind of have them try and find enough people who want to do this and get it together and pick an area and then do it between now and the 17th.
I'll say, if I got to choose the date, it was going to be the 24th, but the city picks the date. And we got the date yesterday to that piece. But we definitely have some time dedicated today that you're going to be with folks that are in your area today. And so you'll have some time to actually plan that a little bit. And again, even if it's 3 people, right? Hey, you got 3 people in your area. You guys decided you're going to pick up your block. That's great, right? You 3 end up volunteering that day and picking up your block, and maybe we get 3 people on another block. You know, we're here to support, and I'll tell you, I think I glossed over that slide so far. So with us here in the meeting, we've got over 60 people, not including my staff and volunteers, that are here tonight. And we had 215 people already sign up for the block club, and we've got every precinct covered. So there's a lot of people, and we're going to introduce you to the folks that you might not know in your area as well.
So Marie, what time was it going to be on the 17th?
We didn't set it yet. So we usually, and Gina, maybe help me out here. I think we might have started around 9 or 10 a.m. the last time we did it. We'll probably start at 10. Yeah. So we'll probably start at 10 and, we'll go probably until about 2 p.m. So we'll do like a 10 a.m. kickoff. We'll have supplies at my office. So
We'll
folks
start
can,
at the office. I'm sorry for
Yes.
interrupting, but we'll start at the office. Okay.
Yep. So we'll start at the office for people to pick up supplies and coordinate with you from there. Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do is we will get with the people in our neighborhood from here, from who we're connected with, and then we'll just come to the office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
When do you make that sound so simple?
And I was thinking, Maria, we could tag it, like if we have a group in an area that's a little far from the office, we'll tag somebody out to go
Yep.
get stuff and bring
Yep.
it out and have a depot, an outpost.
Absolutely. Yes, we can do that. So I figure that's one of the things of trying to coordinate with folks in this way beforehand, because if we know we've got a group of folks, right, and they can't come to the office, we can definitely drop off some stuff.
Maria,
Yes, sir.
where are we going to park? There is a parking lot not far from you, by the church. Can we park there for Saturday for your meeting?
I don't know if you can park at the church. I can check with them about that availability. And George, I think that's a good question. I know that, it'll be a quick pickup for supplies, so we won't be having a long meeting. We'll spend a few minutes together, and it's really just, we'll be there so people can pick up, bags and masks and, shovels and rakes, and then folks will be going out. But we'll check on that, George. That's a good question.
Hopefully the weather is nice.
Maria,
It will.
That's,
Awesome.
yeah, right. Let's hope for that.
Yeah.
Let's see. I saw a couple comments here too. Yep, it's Earth Day weekend, and Ellen said, I think folks that walk dog should bring an extra bag and clean up where they walk. Yes, Ellen. Oh, and can I say, you guys, I'm really excited. We're finally gonna have like pick up your dog poop signs.
Oh, right.
Yeah. As a dog owner who is always outside and always picks up, I know that is a huge issue, especially a lot more people got dogs over this pandemic.
More pets, yeah.
A lot more people got pets. So we're getting some, they're not full-size yard signs, they're a little smaller, so they should be easier. So we're getting a bunch of those printed up that we will also have for the event. So you can pick some of those up and take them with you and put them in your area.
Maria Sue Stupe, I think was had a
Oh.
question.
Sue, yeah.
Hi, I just want to know two things. One, I know it's called block by block, but and so is it indeed a block? Like we just have to organize our block, or do we organize our precinct?
So this is where we're calling it a block club, but one of the challenges to some of the block clubs, and as we kind of dug into things of why enough of them don't exist here, is because not everybody really identifies with their blocks. So certain blocks do. And I know some of you on here, you live on blocks where like, people, you've had the same people there for a long time, your neighbors, you have block parties. And you do things like that. And in that instance, if what you guys want to do is organize on your block, that is fantastic. One of the reasons we were kind of starting, and I'll say, this was more of me trying not to be overly ambitious, of saying, hey, you know what, I bet we can at least get one group per precinct, right? And I know that there are some precincts where they've never had block clubs. Folks don't know as many people. So this is more of an initial grouping that we're trying to do, to say, hey, we want you to at least meet people in your precinct, right? And we've even grouped those precincts into areas, because even though we've had 215 people sign up and there's a pretty decent distribution, there's still some places where maybe there's only like 2 people, right? And they're not on the same block. So it's pretty loose, right? It's not saying like, hey, if you don't have people in your block, you can't do this. That's why we kind of opened it up. And also the opposite is true. If you live in a precinct where there are several blocks that are active, one, I want you all to know each other so that if there's a block that isn't very active, that person can maybe connect with you guys. And I don't know if that helps, Sue, makes sense.
Yes, it does. The other question I have in terms of flyers, I've
Yeah.
noticed a lot of people no longer have printers. And so I'm wondering, in terms of flyers, will the ward office take care of that in any way, even just to use a printer?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we think we can help with. That'll be the easiest. So for now, I'll say like what I've got kind of budgeted and allocated. Like for this event, we're going to print the flyers, right? It's a ward-wide event. It's not a personal block level event. It's ward-wide. So right now, if it's a ward-wide event or something that we're doing all together, we're going to do the printing, right? Like we'll provide that stuff. I think we are going to ask people to provide their own tape. Because it's one of the things that can get a little difficult and a little pricey. But we also have a little training for flyering, right? Because sometimes, yeah, we got training for flyering, but yes, so we're going to be doing the printing for flyering for this. And so when we get you guys in your groups again, some of the questions that we've got for you are kind of like, great, are there a couple people who can do flyering? We're going to make sure to connect you with like Shanika and Jackie so that we can get counts on that, so that we know what to order for printing and we can coordinate kind of drop off with you guys for that. All right. Oh, Ketty.
Hi, Maria. I have to get going for class in a couple minutes, but I did want to say I am a social work grad student at Loyola, and I'd like to get some of the student organizations involved since they are part of the community.
Yeah.
So if it's okay with you, I can have a conversation with them and possibly have them like co-host an event or partner
absolutely.
of some sort.
Yes.
I think that's important to involve everyone from a community level, institutions, residents, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to see if we can get that going as well.
Yeah, no, I would love that. And definitely you can connect with us if you need any help with that, Ketty. And I'd say that's a good idea and an invitation to everybody, right? As it goes to the whole like, it's not like, it's called Block by Block and it's about block clubs, but it's not a club, right? So if folks are in the neighborhood, if they're community members, if they're working here, if they're living here, if there's organizations that want to get involved, those are some of my hopes too, of like once folks really get, doing a few things in their area. So I'll say to get people started, and as we go through this first year, we're going to plan at least a ward-wide activity each month, right? And that's how we're going to do a thing, whether it's a cleanup or like a business walk, or we'll do the bike ride again, right? Something like that. All of these things, public health conditions pending. But we're going to plan something every month and engage the block clubs on. We would love to do that with community partners. So if some of the Loyola students want to help us maybe on doing one of those monthly activities, but then outside of the monthly activities that we plan from my office, I'm hoping you guys might actually plan your own things. And that's where we can help to promote and support too. So it doesn't have to be a ward-wide event. Maybe you want to do something in your area. Maybe you want to do something in your precinct. Maybe you want to do something on your block and you want to tell us about it if it's a community event. So.
Yeah, because Loyola does take up a large swath of one of our two of our precincts. So that would be very critical.
Yeah, we want them to feel included. Yeah.
With including Loyola for the cleanup, the fraternities and sororities might be a source of labor if you wanted to hit on them for that.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. And we can do some mask training for them. I see some of the Loyola students around. They are not the best mask wearers, some of them. Yeah. Yeah.
My connection is mostly with the grad students, but I can see if I can forward the information.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ketty. And thanks for making time before class. Yeah. All right. So I want to see if folks, oh, Kitty.
Unmute.
Hang on. I'll even show up.
There you go.
I'm making dinner too. So you said you had like 250 people that signed up that were interested in this concept?
215, yes.
215, close. So, and I know there's 60 something here tonight, but so how do we find out precinct by precinct or however, who's right in our area that may not be here tonight that might just be curious and be the first people we might want to reach out to because they were already curious?
So one of the next steps that we're doing after this meeting, which we're going to put you guys back in groups for you to actually talk about maybe what the spring cleanup could look like in your area. And by area, I mean, I'm going to actually show you guys this map again, because I think it might be a helpful reference. So I'm answering your question while sharing the screen, Kitty. So I'm going to show you guys this map. So if you see, this is the distribution of folks so far. And I'll say, you can see, here we go. So if you see in this view, right, this isn't precinct, these are areas that we kind of grouped together different precincts. And you can kind of see, you know, there's a lot more kind of clustered in the center here. And you can see some areas where folks are a little bit more spread out, right? But so this is some of the grouping. The groups that we prepared tonight, because doing 33 different breakout rooms with like sometimes just one person seemed a little excessive. So the groups you're in tonight are your areas. So if you think about the geographic, and that's likely how we'll kind of group and meet. So that helps you like get out of your block, get out of your precinct and know folks who are in other areas of the ward, right? That are kind of close to you. And then what we're going to be doing is following up with an email connecting you guys by area after this meeting. So not immediately after, but like this week, you'll get an email that's like you folks together, right? Hey, like you 20 folks or you 30 folks, you guys are there. We might actually do it by precinct instead of by area, just so that it's not overwhelming, but we're kind of going back and forth on that. And if before we leave tonight, if folks have feedback on that, I'm open to it. But yeah, we're actually going to do an email introduction to folks. That way people can decide, you know, if they want to engage. But we thought specifically doing that and around an upcoming event might be a good way for those folks who might have signed up, or maybe folks who meant to sign up but didn't, but they saw a flyer, to know like, oh, all right, you got connected. You can talk to people who didn't come to this meeting. We know we've got an event on April 17th. It's going to be a pretty basic, you know, let's get together and clean up. And people out visibly doing things is also a great way to catch people's attention.
And if I can jump in, just so we have an update, the registers or the folks who have signed up for the Block Club program, we've actually gotten up to 240 right now, which is great. And I'm also going to put a link in the chat again. If you are a person who signed up for this Zoom and didn't actually fill out the Google form yet, fill out this form, because that's how we'll have your information to connect you with the people in either your precinct or your area. If I don't get your information in that Google form, then I'm not going to be able to connect you.
Thanks, Jackie. All right. I'm going to go ahead and
I'm
stop.
sorry, Maria.
Oh, go ahead.
Did